The first real round of combat is in effect. Our heroes have been ambushed on their way down into the cellar of the burned down hunting lodge. As you could see in the previous act, the goblins, both of them, have the opportunity, or not the opportunity, but they have the initiative. So the goblin on the right side is Mr. Giglio, and the goblin on the left side is Mr. Saffron. Both of them have submitted their actions, and we will start with Mr. Giglio. It's a good name for a goblin, Giglio. So Mr. Giglio is going to shift one square to the right. When shifting, you do not provoke an opportunity attack. So he's shifting one side, or one square, and then he's going to try to jump up onto the stair to block the way for those up there. And also, if the elf decides to move, he will get an attack of opportunity on him. However, the goblin is very small, and the staircase is high. So I, as the Dungeon Master, has deemed this difficulty at 15. Now, the goblin has a dexterity bonus of 3, so he will need to roll a 12 or higher to be able to jump up to that staircase. So let's see how Mr. Giglio does. That's an 11, so it's a near success. But alas, he falls to his back, gets up again, and is kind of annoyed. The second goblin is acting at the same time. This is Mr. Saffron. He has decided to stab, stab, stab! So he's going for the elf again. Of course, he can't hit him high up on the body, but he will do lots of damage to his feet if he can just manage to hit. The goblin actually has a +5 attack instead of 4 that I said last time. So he has a +5, and the armor class of the elf is 16. So I need 11 or more to be able to hit the elf ranger. So let's see how Mr. Saffron does. He scores a 9, so that is a miss. Next up is National the Elf Ranger, controlled by Andy Shepard. His plan of action is to try and jump over to the table. Now, as he does that, he is going to provoke an opportunity attack from Mr. Saffron. It's kind of strange calling these goblins human names. I will stop that. If the dwarf wasn't here, he could have slided over here and then jumped without this goblin being able to attack. But now this goblin is in a position to have an opportunity attack, so it really doesn't matter. The difficulty check for jumping over to this table is going to be a 15. The Elf Ranger has a dexterity modifier of +4, so he needs an 11 or better. That's a 15. So National the Elf is successful in jumping 2.5 squares, or 1.5 square, over to this table to free up some space. He is then going to use a standard action and perform a twin strike. That means he can shoot 2 times with his bow. And as you know, rangers are good with their bows. He has a +4 penetration. No, that was bolt action. He has a +4 dexterity for his shooting action. And the armor class of the goblin is actually 16. Since they are small, nimble, and have leather armor and good dexterity. So he is going to need a 12 or higher on the first shot. If he hits, he will score d8 damage. So here comes the first of his 2 shots. Scoring a 9, which is not enough. So the arrow just zooms past the goblin and hits the wall, bounces off the wall. Second action is going to be a 12. That is enough to hit the goblin. So we will roll for damage. Now, the goblin only has 5 hit points. So this might be the end of this goblin, who we shall not name. He scores a 1, so he still has 4 hit points left. But a good action there by National the Elf, jumping over to the table and loosening 2 arrows, hitting the goblin once. Next up is the dwarf fighter. Last up of the heroes is the dwarf fighter, Dasvanyu Thundergroin, commanded by Andy Bryant. Now, he had given instructions to shift and then try to flank the goblins, but as the goblins already have moved, we will shift and then we're going to attack. And we're going after Mr. Jiggly. So he is moving up and he's going to perform a sure strike. That is a skill for or an attack for the dwarf, which has a +2 to hit, and also he gets a bonus for his strength, which is a +3. He's not proficient with the one-handed axe, however, so you might want to buy a warhammer. That will give you another +2, because you're proficient in that. I will give you guys some details about your characters when we are having the time to do that. But for now, you have a +2 from your attack, you have a +3 from your strength, and that means you have to roll an 11 or higher to beat the armor class of 16 of the Jiggly Goblin. So 11 or higher. That's a 14, so you score a hit. Now, the one-handed axe only does d6 damage, so we will find us 1d6 and we will see how much damage you give to Mr. Jiggly. Well, we shouldn't call a goblin Jiggly, really. They should have some more cruel names. So you need a 5 to kill him outright, and you score a 3. But that means he's down to 2 hit points, and his friend is down to 4 hit points. Now, we will also take care of the guys coming from the top. Argon, the human wizard, controlled by Paul H., is going to move down the stairs, and he is going to cast a flaming spear at one of the goblins. And I'm thinking it will be this one, so we don't put some damage onto our friends. Now, he can move to here roughly. He can now see the goblin, and he has a good range, so that's no problem. It is a daily spell, so you can only use this once per day, Paul or Argon. So think about that. You will get a list of your spells and what you have at your disposal. But for now, you have a +4 intelligence modifier, and we are going against the reflex of the goblin, which is 14. So you need to score a 10 or higher to be able to pull that off. And you roll a 17. That is very good, Argon the Wizard. And all you guys standing in the room just see a flaming spear appearing out of the open sky or open area, room, or whatnot, and it materializes in front of the goblin. Since this is a daily power, it's quite powerful. It will inflict 2d6 +4, which is the intelligence modifier, damage. That means it will be a auto kill on the goblin, but we will roll just for fun. And we score a total of 7 + 4 is 11 damage. So that goblin is dead. Tot getöten. We are sorry, Frank, but you will return, as I have promised, as a chieftain. And I wonder when he will enter play. As a minor action, you can choose to keep the flaming spear in action, and then in next turn you can move it up to 6 squares to put it next to another creature and then deal the same 2d6 damage. That is something you can ponder. You have used your daily spell, or that as a daily spell. You have one more daily spell that you can use, which is Acid Arrow, dealing 2d8 damage, a little bit overpowered to kill goblins. Maybe save it for something else. Anyway, you can sustain the Flaming Spear if you want to, and then move it up to 6 squares next turn. Now, the final member of this crew is the Halfling Rogue, Distant Scuttlebutt, and he is commanded by Matt Rattenbury. Now, he is going to move down and he's going to be stealthy. Really not much need for doing any checks, since both our, well, at least one of them is engaged in combat. The other one is burnt to cinders. So you are going to be allowed to move down the stairs and position yourself next to the wizard. And then next turn you can jump down and gutter the goblin. But we will have to check for initiative. So let's see, we are starting with the wizard. See how he does. He has dexterity of 12, so +1 to his initiative. He scores a 3, so that's a 4. I'll just note this down. There's the 3. Then we are taking the halfling. He has, of course, a +4. So he will have an initiative of 7. Could have been better. Then we have the goblin, which has an initiative of or a +3. So he's at 13, possibly going first again. Then we have the dwarf, having not so high dexterity, so he has only +1. So he's at 5. And then the final elf, or the only elf, but the final character hero, has +4. Ooh, 20. So he is definitely going first. I will probably have to make ready to find some new opponents for these heroes, because I'm guessing the goblin is going to be dead at the beginning of the next turn. So now you know how it is. You have your initiative scores. What's gonna happen?